The story begins with the introduction of Song Jinyoung. She is currently on a plane that's about to crash. She shudders with teary eyes, she doesn't want to die. When she's finally decided to live happily, she is a surgeon, whose nicknames are endless. Her colleagues rely on her deeply. She's always calm and collective, which never ceases to impress her colleagues. But all her efforts are about to be destroyed. 100 years ago she was the queen of a kingdom in a different world. However, she was burnt to death for unforgivable crimes. She regrets the way she had lived and the families that had lost their lives because of her. That's why she had decided to atone in this life by saving others, and was finally becoming happy. She refused to die. Suddenly she wakes up, confused if she had died. Someone knocks on the door calling her milady. She looks in the mirror realizing she's back in her old body. The maid serves her meal. Feeling bewildered by her behavior, the maid asks if she's sick. In her former life she was a evil bless with a doll-like face. She would have temper tantrum for nothing. Servants were hurt because of her. She was basically a witch. Luckily at her current age, she hasn't committed any crimes. Her eyes become hollow. She remembers her father in torn clothes asking for her life to be spared. This time she won't let it happen. 10 days have passed. She doesn't know how she returned, but she has adjusted to the situation. She calls Marie. Marie scared, believing she's going to be hit for no reason. She asked if her punishment ends today. Marie responds yes. She doesn't remember the reason why she was grounded, but it was fortunate, since it gave her time to adjust. The maid informs her that the Marquis wants her to attend family dinner. She is overjoyed to see her family, which she had missed for 30 years. At the door, she began to feel anxious. She gives herself a pep talk. Upon opening the door, she covers her mouth. Tears fell down her cheeks. Her father and brother rushed to her side, thinking the punishment was too much. Her brother embraces her in a nostalgic hug. The regrets from before make their way to the surface. She's determined to save her brother from his fate. Now she's 100% certain this isn't a dream. She conveys her love for them. They were shocked. It is the first time she'd shown them affection. They asked if she was sick. She apologized. Her father immediately became suspicious. He thought to himself, what could be the cause of her sudden change? In the next scene, she exclaims she will do her own chores. The maid worries for her safety. She assures her, she'll be fine. The maid thought to herself if she's truly the lady of the house. But she's inclined to believe it, since no one else could possess such beauty. Elise thanks her for a cake. The maid is in shock. She contemplates that she changed around the time of the family dinner. She apologized to servants, helped them with funds and gave them gifts. Everyone thinks something is wrong with her. The maid thought an angel enter her body. She wishes Ellis remains kind. Ellis writes on a parchment. She glanced at the time. She entered her father's room with a radiant smile carrying tea for him. He looks at it clearly surprised. He never thought she would make him tea. She remembers being mistreated for being an orphan. This made her aware of how important her family was. The tea was delicious. He exclaims it was the best in the palace. In her past life, she studied ways to prepare tea to capture the attention of the prince. The sun begins to set. She opened the door to leave, and her father already missed her. He thought to himself that the cup of tea was more valuable than gems. In a room, she writes about major events. She remembers that 10 years before her execution, during the second kiln expended and her second brother Chris dies. Afterwards her stepmom dies due to a deteriorating disease. A rebellion ignited by the Tristan family led to the execution of her father and eldest brother, who died covering for her. The kiln expended an army was wiped out due to an unknown disease. The emperor fell victim to the same disease. The duchess died from advanced Parkinson disease. After the kiln war ended, 3 cities in the south were blocked off due to smallpox, which originated from the eastern region. It led to the death of 70,000 people. The medical knowledge in the current timeline is far behind. She wonders if she'll be able to save the people, although her knowledge is limited. Suddenly she remembers a major event. The announcement of the marriage between her and the prince is close. At that time everything changed for the worse. Her stepmom questions if she's hungry. She exclaims everything fine mother. She expresses her joy of hearing her use the term mother. However, she finds it peculiar that she hasn't touched her favorite dessert. She exclaims, what are you worried about? Immediately her father and brother offer her their support. She says it's about the prince's birthday. Her father informs her everything going as she wanted. Her engagement will be announced at the party. Suddenly the eldest brother Lene objects to the wedding. He believes she's not capable of being empress. The youngest brother Chris thought to himself, he's been gone for a month, yet he's cruel to Ellis. She smiles. Chris couldn't believe his eyes. He expected her to start a tantrum, before she hated Lene. But now she knows she's not fit to be empress. She thinks that the prince was also a victim of the engagement. Due to the crime she had committed, the prince was forced to endure despite not doing anything himself. Chris defends Ellis, saying she's changed. Lene doesn't believe him. He cuts the conversation short, saying he must return to the Nightage. The youngest brother believes. Lene has to see how she has changed in order to believe him. They walk together. Chris warns him to be careful. Lene gives him a heartfelt smile. Meanwhile, Ellis ponders a way to cancel the engagement. A year ago she fell in love with the prince and made a commotion, so she can't just break it off.